Hi, this is a brief tutorial covering the basics of publishing point clouds with CloudCaster Lite. Today we're going to publish a single point cloud that comes from a terrestrial laser scanning system. The point cloud file format is PTS, so we're going to go ahead and add our point cloud. The first thing you do when publishing any point clouds with CloudCaster is to format them. Formatting in our case simply means making sure that the columns within the originating file are matched to the correct values in the publisher. We know that this file contains X, Y, Z, and these three columns are the RGB, red, green, blue color values, and our final column are the intensity values. In this particular case, just so happens CloudCaster Lite is set by default for this exact format, so we don't have to change anything here. In some cases, however, the intensity value might come before the RGB values, and in that case it is necessary to swap that using these tools. In our case, we also know the intensity value are floating point values. Sometimes they're integers. So if you know what your intensity values or scale is, you can actually check that from here. If you're not sure, leave this radio button checked. It does add a small amount of additional processing time, but not a lot. Also, publishing color and intensity values are optional in CloudCaster. We're going to go ahead and publish both. It does add a small amount of file size. We're done here, so we're going to click close. We're going to name or label our scan. I'm going to add a small caption. We happen to know our units are feet within this point cloud. And with some data, it's necessary to change the up axis. And with this data, we know that we need to change it to Z. If you don't change it, the effect is the model comes into the view space sort of cocked at 90 degrees on end. Some data will come in by default just fine, but I happen to know this data needs to be re-axised. So we're going to click close, and in the personal edition of the software, your maximum number of points is 1 million, but I have the commercial edition installed, so we're going to go ahead and change this to say 3 million. And I want this model to load the first time a user comes to view our application, so I'm going to click use as default. If you don't check this and you send users to your published project, they will be prompted to download a model, but no model or no data will automatically download into their browser. So it's a matter of personal preference here. And we're leaving our FTP information blank, so when we click the publish button here, we should be prompted to publish locally. And we are. We're going to click yes, and I've set up a folder for this purpose called test publish on my desktop. We'll publish there, and upon opening the folder you can see it was blank just a moment ago, but the publishing application immediately writes the configuration file, the application itself, and a web page, and it's going to store our data in the content folder here. And when we're done publishing, we're going to run the index page in our browser. Overall publish time depends upon the size of the input file, the settings you put in, and your target number of points. The publisher has been tested with input files up to 495 million points, and we believe it will support files of any size. Our publish is complete, so we're going to come in here. You'll see we now have our published model, and we're going to run our index file. And you'll see the application immediately loads into the browser and the data streams right in. You can zoom in and out. In our case, we don't quite like the way the model looks by default, so what we're going to do is reorient it slightly. That looks better. Zoom in just a bit. And now we're going to take note of the values at the bottom of the screen here. We still have our project open in the publishing tool, and we're going to come back up to the default settings, and we're going to change these values to match the values in our viewer, and then we're going to republish. And in this way, the next time the user views the application, the model will load in exactly as we see it now. And because we don't have to reprocess the actual point cloud for this publish, you'll see the publish is complete instantly. It's because all that happened there was the configuration file was rewritten to take advantage of the new values here. So we'll reload our application, and we should now see the model pop onto the screen in the exact place we saw it before, and all the viewers that you send to your project will see it just like this. In future versions of the CloudCaster Publisher, you'll be able to set your default values visually by actually moving the model inside of the publisher and clicking save, and the publisher will publish the application with all of these settings. But for now, this is the workflow we use internally to make sure that the default view of the models looks good. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to give us a shout at support@onlineinteractivesoftware.com.